you can classically condition a dog, but you could do a human too. But the human will be able to perceive and understand the difference between the two experiences that it's having, that the definition of which is only semantic. But a dog will never be able to communicate or show you that difference.
Okay.
So I mean that's the type of difference, or at least I don't know if that helps vegan gains understand what you're trying to say.
Well, he understands, but what he doesn't like is he doesn't feel like my definition of semantic understanding is meaningfully, yeah, whatever I'm saying. He feels like my explanation of semantic understanding doesn't satisfactorily differentiate human experience versus animal experience. So he really wants me to believe that animals have the same experience that humans do. But I think that all of the vegan arguments around animals have the same experience we do is just a form of like intuition pumping and begging the question. You see an animal that's got eyes, it makes noises, and you think, wow, they must think of the world like humans do. But I've never in my life... You're
doing that with babies.
What?
You're literally doing that with babies. So
yeah, but I've got a far better reason to think a baby who has all the same parts of my brain as I do and doesn't significantly change as they're growing up is a lot more similar to my understanding of the world than a dog.
A baby doesn't significantly change growing up?
My understanding is correct, that there's not like different brain structures that emerge once a baby is born. Are there? Maybe there are, and I just didn't know that.
Well, the brain doesn't even fully develop until about the age of 25, so...
Oh, so when you say the brain doesn't fully develop...
I don't know what you mean by...
Yeah, no, I might be an idiot.
I don't even know what you mean by significant structural changes, like...
Yeah, well, I mean,
okay, if I were to put a pin... Yeah. If I were to put a pin through your brain, okay, yeah, it wouldn't change many structural things, would it? But like,
well, shit, so that's what I'm asking.
So yeah,
so you can, so you can help me.
Like,
so do babies not have like, do babies not have a hippocampus?
Okay, I want to understand what you mean.
Do babies have like a temporal lobe? I'm trying to figure out what part of the brain do you not have when you're 1 year old?
So do dogs.
Do they have a thalamus?
But, like the point
do they have an amygdala?
So do dogs. The problem.
Do they? Okay, wait. But dogs don't ever.
There's so many problems you're making. Like, like, dude, if you're gonna say there's not many structural changes between, or structural differences between an infant's brain and an adult brain, I don't know what you mean by that. Because again, if I drove a pin,
I can tell you, but
through
you
your
just
brain,
also keep screaming random shit.
That wouldn't cause many structural changes. But you could become blind in one eye. You could forget how to speak.
True.
Like.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know what you mean by many differences.
Yeah, you keep screaming. I don't know what you mean, and then you keep talking. I can just tell you what I mean. Do you want me to tell you what I mean? Or do you want to keep grandstanding?
Please.
Okay. What I mean is all of the parts of the brain, the structures of the brain have developed. They might grow, but all the parts are there and new parts don't grow. Like, there's not like, you don't like develop your pineal gland at like 10 years old, or your like prefrontal cortex, that whole part doesn't just appear at age 5. That all the main structures and shit of the brain are in place by a few months, I think, in utero. That's my understanding. Am I wrong on that? Are there new parts of the brain that grow when you turn 2?
Well, there are pretty substantive changes when you're talking about...
What does a substantive change mean? Can you explain that to me?
Okay, so, like, when you're talking about, say, 20 weeks of gestation, yes, so all the, like, parts of the brain are technically there, but, things like, folds and wrinkles, like the size, like the just actual size and shape are substantially different versus an infant versus an adult.
Wait, the shape is substantially different? Is your brain a cube when it comes out of the womb, or?
Okay, I think you understand what I mean by that.
What I think is that, like, so for instance, here's what I would say. Your body, once you're born, is basically all there. You don't change, you don't get new parts of your body as you grow up. They just get bigger and more developed. But once you're born, you've got all your fingers, all your toes, your knees, your dick or your vagina, like all the parts are there, your gastrointestinal, all of the parts are there. You might grow and mature, but all the parts are there. You're a fully developed human.
Right, but I mean, you're literally smooth-brained at about 20 weeks. Like,
Okay.
like you don't think that's a substantive difference between?
My understanding is is it the cerebellum that gets the wrinkles? What part of brain? What part of brain wrinkles? I don't remember. the cortex. I'm sorry. These things that develop, I'm pretty sure these come as
cerebrum.
Okay, cerebrum. These things develop as you like gain intelligence and you become more sophisticated cognitively, but it's not like those folds are a new structure of the brain. I don't believe.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I don't know if that's the case. Like, I mean, there's people who are smooth-brained as adults and they're severely mentally disabled.
That might be the case.
But again, I don't know. I'm still not understanding what you mean by. So, like, you just mean by substantive change, as long as the structure's there, technically, it's not a substantive change. So, when, like, the first few cells of the cortex, you know, begin to form, that's not a substantive change versus when the brain's fully developed.
Well, it's not a structural change. Like, there's a substantive change between, like, a 10-year-old and a 20-year-old, but they haven't, like, developed new parts.
Okay. Okay, I think I understand what you mean there. I'm still not understanding what you mean by semantics, because, again, you didn't give me a definition. You gave me an example, again, that would, like, fit an animal model.
I'm not.
So
the parts of the brain that we're talking about.
I'm doing a little bit of Googling. Tell me if this is from vocabulary.com.
Wait, hold on. No, wait. This conversation is never getting solved with a dictionary definition, okay? Because if it is the case that I lack what semantic understanding means so much, then you reading out a dictionary definition is not going to help me, because I'm already lost in the conversation.
It might, because you don't seem to be able to give me a definition. You can only give me examples.
Okay.
So, I just want to know what you mean by semantic understanding, and you can't give me a definition. You just keep giving me examples that would also fit in an animal model, but obviously...
Okay, you keep saying
this
fit in
wouldn't
an animal
apply
model.
to an animal model.
You keep saying, yeah, you keep trying to bring us back to an animal model while I'm trying to discern like stages of human development. This is the equivalent of what you're doing. I say, wait, let me just do one. I know you. Let me do one example. Let me do one quick example. Okay, so it's like there's an electric car, and then there's a internal combustion engine car. And I'm telling you, the difference between an electric car and an internal combustion engine car is that the internal combustion engine car uses fossil fuel, and the electric car uses a battery. And then you're going, okay, well, doesn't the internal combustion engine car have wheels? And I go, yeah. Okay, well, the electric car has wheels. Okay, sure.
Okay,
but doesn't it have car seats? It's like, yeah, it has car seats, but like, okay, well, doesn't it have like a truck? Doesn't it have the same shape? Yeah, well, because you keep trying to find...
That analogy doesn't make any sense.
There are similarities. Hold on. There are similarities between the human conscious experience and I imagine the experience of probably every single living thing on this planet, down to leaves, up to insects, up to primates. There's going to be similarities, right? More similarities with how you go up. But what I'm saying is overall, the sophisticated conceptual understanding that humans have of themselves and the world seems to be incredibly unique to humans. That's my argument for why human sapiens is fundamentally different. Yeah. Okay.
Sure, and the differentiating factor here in particular is semantic understanding. I asked you for a definition of semantic understanding. You didn't give me a definition, and you chose to give me an example, which might have been good enough.
Okay.
But your example would also apply to animals, so that can't be useful in this discussion because you're trying to differentiate humans and animals. So either you need to use a better example or actually give me a solid definition. And
we'll go. Tell me what dictionary.com says, and we'll go with that one. Okay.
Yeah, sure. So semantics is the study of meaning in language. It can be applied to entire texts or to single words. For example, destination and last stop technically mean the same thing, but students of semantics analyze their subtle shades of meaning. So being able to understand the difference between destination and last stop might have been a better example, but I think you'd have to agree that a 20-week-old fetus wouldn't be able to understand that semantic difference.
Possibly, yeah.
So you'd be in favor of aborting 20-week-old fetuses if they cannot understand that semantic difference?
Okay, let's try this. Why do you think the fetus wouldn't be able to understand it?
Why would I have any reason to believe it could? Like again, at that stage of gestation, there's smooth
Also,
brain.
hold on. The definition you just gave me was literally an example. So.
Well, yes, but it's a better example, and I think it allows you to understand the idea behind semantics better than just saying the difference between hard and soft, like you pointed out. I think a dog knows the difference between hard and soft. That's why my dog always tries to sleep on pillows rather than the floor. I'll just sit here. And then it just happens to be a pillow.
There's a difference between the binary recognition of this feels bad, this feels good, and the concepts of soft and hard. Like those.
Well, again, now
you're presuming a lot about how the dog comprehends these differences.
And Destiny isn't presuming how a 20-week-old fetus would think?
Well, I will, yeah. I'll presume a bit because we have identical parts, yeah.
Well, we share many similar brain structures.
Many, but remember what you said, wait, remember what you said earlier? Poking a needle through somebody's brain could make them blind. So why would I assume just because I share many structures with something that I'm gonna have a similar semantic understanding of the world or similar conscious or sapient experience, right?
Well, look, if you're gonna compare yourself to a being that literally has a smooth brain versus a being that has folds in its brain, I could just as easily make the same criticism that you're assuming that, I don't know, a fetus or an infant or anybody is thinking the same way you think. Just like how you criticize me, oh, well, you're just assuming
yeah, but we
the
have
dog
we literally have the same part, so I can assume that we have the same emergent experience.
You don't have the same part. Okay, so if I found somebody who's an adult who is smooth-brained.
Wait, smooth brain? I don't know why you think wrinkles in a brain are the differentiating factor between our. That sounds like a cognitive impairment, not like a.
Saying, yeah. So it is. You acknowledge it's
it does make a difference, but we can
impairment.
talk about it later. It's not important.
Again, like if you're gonna accuse me of making anthropomorphizing dogs because I'm just applying my own sensibilities to how the dog thinks, like I could make that exact same criticism the other way around.
What do you think anthropomorphic means?
Well, humanize.
Yeah, I don't have to humanize a human.
Well, you absolutely do in the case of a fetus because it does not have the same cognitive capability you do.
It's human.
Okay,
it might not have the same cognitive capability I do. Lots of people don't have the same cognitive capability I do. Like, that doesn't make them not human.
Well, can you define what human is?
No, probably something relating to genetic sequence, I would guess.
Right, and I could find, I can find people who are literally like brain dead practically, who are completely mentally disabled, who have the same genetic makeup that, like,
they would be human. They would still be human. A persistent vegetative state, disabled person would still be human. Yeah.
Like, again, I don't even know why I bothered arguing that point with you, but the criticism you're making of me that I'm humanizing how a dog thinks, you could use that in the other direction.
Sure, that's fair. And I would say that I got more evidence that a baby conceptualizes the world similar to me than you a dog, because a baby and I have the exact same parts that function in the exact same way.
Well, not a fetus. And especially when you consider, like, just obvious cognitive differences, like an infant cannot recognize itself in a mirror, and I don't even think they have any kind of self-awareness until a few months into their development. So not just reflective self-awareness, like literally understanding that they're an individual doesn't even occur until a few months later. Like, you think that you can apply your own sort of cognitive reasoning and like think that an infant can use that same sort of cognitive reasoning when there are those massive differences?
I don't think I've ever used cognitive reasoning. I don't think I'm ever talking about cognitive.
Requires cognitive reasoning.
Okay, cognitive to me, and I could be wrong, cognitive to me sounds like prefrontal cortex, like intellectual developments. Like when I think of cognitive processes, I'm thinking of like reasoning and putting two and two together and stuff.
And that's what's required for semantic understanding, which is what you told me is the differentiating factor between human, animal.
Okay, I didn't know. Yeah, then I'm just uneducated about it. I didn't know that. I don't think I'm unaware that cognitive understanding is like necessary for putting together like just like having a conscious experience of the world, or we're conceptualizing this in different ways.
You don't need semantic understanding to have conscious experiences, but what you're telling me is that you care about semantic understanding. And I think it's pretty clear that a 20-week-old fetus does not have semantic understanding. Like, again, can you give me any evidence that a fetus would know the difference between a destination and a last stop?
No, but if it doesn't, it's not because it lacks the capability or the process to know that. It just doesn't. It hasn't actually gathered the physical experience to know that.
So can you give me any evidence that a 20-week-old fetus could understand the difference between a destination and a last stop?
No.
Okay, so you.
Well, hang on. In this case, sorry, you do have the evidence that you cited earlier was that the fetus doesn't grow to grow new parts. It has the same parts that will have.
I mean, I couldn't give you evidence that like a child in a poor African village would know the difference between a destination and a last stop because they might have never left their village before. Then they don't use those words. So I don't feel like it's a good question to figure out like.
If we're going to use these really flimsy arguments, like, oh well, it has like the same general brain structure that we do.
No.
Must have semantic
Babies don't have the
understanding.
same general brain structure. They have the exact same brain structure. All the same parts that communicate in the same ways.
No, they don't.
Okay.
Okay, so you're telling me if I took a 20-week-old fetus's brain and I took your brain, it would have the exact same structure?
That's my understanding. My understanding is about anywhere from 20 to 28 weeks that have the same structure.
Could you go on screen right now on your stream, Google 20-week-old fetal brain, and Google adult human brain, and then tell me on stream to all your viewers you don't see a difference? Like it's just so visually apparent. I don't even know why you're saying this.
When do last structures of brain develop in fetus? By the end of the second trimester, Gaither says the fetal brain looks structurally much like the adult brain, with the brainstem almost entirely developed. So at 7 weeks, the rudimentary brain separates into 3 distinct parts: front brain, midbrain, and hindbrain. For the first trimester, neurons and synapses begin to develop in the spinal cord. Second trimester, the brain takes control of bodily functions.
Images.
Why do you want me to look at an image? Wait,
look at image.
You're literally giving me the.
You said it's structurally the same.
Yes.
Exactly the same. So go to the image section of Google, bring up fetal brain, 20 weeks gestation, and then bring up adult brain, and tell me there's no structural differences.
I don't know if I can identify a structural difference.
This is getting embarrassing, right?
How big are those structural differences between the fetal brain and the ant's brain?
Wait. Hold on, because now I know I've won the argument because this has gotten so ridiculous. I don't know if I can look at a brain and tell by looking at it the structural differences. First of all, if I'm looking at the brain, I can only see the outside of the brain. I can't cut it and see through like even the different. And also, I don't even know if I would know the
image. I see what you're looking at. Open up the image.
Okay.
Open it up on stream, the one on the top right.
Okay.
You don't see a difference here? It says 20 weeks gestation and it shows, what is it, 9 months or something, or okay. So we have 22 weeks, and then we have 37. Go back. 22 weeks, 37 weeks. That one was perfect. So tell me if you don't see a structural difference.
Which one?
It was the gray. It was all gray, I think. That the other one that's colored is fine too. But again, just anything.
Okay,
that gives
we're
you
looking at this. Here you go. Okay. So can you tell me we'll say at 100 days, like what structure is at 9 months that's not at 100 days? Since you can look at it and see, can you please tell me?
Sorry, you said that it's structurally identical.
Yep, and you're laughing and you're saying they're not. So I'm going to keep asking this question. You'll leave the Discord, by the way. So tell me at 100 days, what structure is not here that's here at 9 months? I'm going to ask the same question. Yep.
Okay, look, I'm not saying that a structure is either missing or
yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask again. What structure is here at 9 months that's not here at 100 days? Because I said they were structurally identical. You said look at a picture and then you laugh. So I'm asking you, what structure is here at 9 months that's not here at 100 days? Let me know.
Okay, Destiny. Yep. Well, a dog has all those same structures as a human.
Really?
They're just different. So
okay, that's cool. But I want you to tell me what structure is present at 9 months that's not here at 100 days. I'm waiting for you to tell me because we looked at the pictures and now we see the pictures. Okay, and I realized I was saying it. So now I want you to tell me what structure is present at 9 months that's not present at 100 days. You open the picture and you laughed and you said, oh my god, obviously the structure is different. So tell me, what structure is there at 9 months that's not here at 100 days? You wanted to look at the pictures and now we're looking at it. So tell me, we're looking at the picture.
Destiny, we share an evolutionary history with all animals on the planet.
We share an evolutionary history with cockroaches.
Yes.
I don't care about evolutionary history. I don't have an evolutionary history with a child or a parent. We're the same species.
We're the hypothalamus.
That's not what we're asking. Right now, what we're trying to figure out is what is present. What structure is present at 9 months that's not present at 100 days?
I'm not saying there isn't a structure that isn't present at
so they're
6
structurally
months.
identical then. There's just a difference in like growth or development.
The image is on screen, dude. Do you really like?
I see the image on screen, so tell me. No, I'm just asking. So what's present at 9 months that's not here at 100 days?
This isn't working. Everybody can see the image on screen.
We all see the picture,
visually
so interpret for us.
The structures are different.
Oh, so now the structures are different. So what structure is here at 9 months that's not here at 100 days?
I'm not, okay, do you understand that there's a difference between saying that there is a structure missing and the structures are different?
How are the structures different?
Okay, Destiny, do you lack semantic understanding? Should I be able to Holocaust you?
Just look at the pictures.
The pictures aren't here. I need you to explain the pictures. Tell me what's different.
I literally just... I think Destiny lacks semantic understanding because I just spelt it out for him and he still doesn't understand. Okay. Maybe it should be okay to, like, kill him, according to Destiny's logic. Buddy, this isn't working. The reason he's
the reason he's bringing up the fact that the structure
a 20-week-old fetus and an adult human in terms of their brain, we literally showed it on screen that there is in fact structural differences. Now you are recognizing those structural differences. Now you are admitting that certain structures have to be formed in a certain way and developed enough to actually be able to have semantic understanding. So why would you assume a 20-week-old fetus has semantic understanding as opposed to, you know, I don't know, a newborn infant or a 5-year-old or an adult?
I don't know, man.
Right. So you think it's okay. So again, according to your logic, it should be okay to abort 20-week-old fetuses.
I guess so. Yeah.
And in fact, it should also be okay to
abort 2-year-olds,
newborn infant, because again, what evidence do you have that they have semantic understanding?
Nothing, I guess.
Like it should be easy for you to provide evidence of that too, because they're actually outside of the womb. They can communicate on some level, right? True, you can directly study them.
Yep.
So what evidence do you have that a newborn baby has semantic understanding?
Not a shred, I don't think.
Okay, so according to you, it should be okay to kill newborn babies.
Seems like it, yeah.
Right, so you completely checked out of the debate, and you're doing this, yeah, seems like it, sure, because, you know, you're ridiculous.
Basically.
You do this every time.
Yeah, I do.
Right, okay. So, I just want to say one thing to your chat. Please stop asking me to have sex with all your girlfriends, because a lot of people from chat come over to my OnlyFans. I don't do that. But if you want to give me Melina's number, feel free, Destiny. Take care.
Good luck, buddy. Do you think that guy? Do you think he f***ed his dog? I think he f***ed his dog.
Stop.
He wants to share special experiences. If dogs can't feel love like humans, then what's the point of being?
Well, the dog howls and he's like, "Oh, this dog is capable of language. It has the same structures as a human. This
Absolutely.
is consent."
Sounds like his girlfriend when he's fucking it. So why would it not be the same thing? You know, as long as they're making the same noises.
Okay. So, my girlfriend, this chick I met, ended up being a fucking huge vegan gain simp, and she said he always shouts out his OnlyFans. I'm like, I didn't know he had a fucking OnlyFans. And I've never heard him on stream shout it out. Has he done it before with you? Or is this the first time and I finally caught it?
I don't think he's done that before with me, but, you know, this is the first time for everything.
Well, shit. That's the first time I've ever heard it.
I just came in because I wanted to clear up. He kept talking about phonomic differentiation or something. I think he was talking about phonemic differentiation. And this is interesting. I think you'll like it. Phonemes are kind of complicated. First, you have to understand what an allophone is. Like if you take the word home and hope, the O sound between those two words is actually quite different. But we consider them a phoneme in English because we don't consider them different at all. The O in home is like more nasal because it's like reverse inheriting the nasal voiced properties of the M sound, right? Because when you do an M sound, you're pushing air through your nose and your voice is coming through your nose. So the O in home is like oh, right?
Sure.
But we don't really consider these sounds different. So we call this a phoneme, and we call these different sounds allophones. And this is actually a capability that humans have that we don't really have evidence that that animals have is that we kind of lose the ability to distinguish between allophones, or like it demonstrates a greater pattern matching sort of capability, because animals like cats and dogs, they just consider these two different parts of vocabulary. They don't like really learn how to acquire rules and then apply them in new ways the way that we do.
Huh.
The way that we can take two allophones or three allophones or any multiple of allophones and sort of concatenate them into what's called a phoneme, and then like when we hear it in a different word that has like a completely different set of phonetics except for this allophone, we know how to spell it, based on our vocabulary and our like whatever it's called, like phonetic system.
And when you hear it, is it called a euphonium?
And babies, like, they've done some cool tests where they like subject babies to different sounds, and we know that babies do distinguish between different allophones at an early age, and then they lose the ability based on like, they'll play different sounds over a speaker, and then the baby will sort of stop and contemplate a sound that it's unfamiliar with. And I think this somewhat supplies some evidence to your point about babies like having this capability for language very early on, because when they play sounds, like even at like a very young baby before the babbling stage, when they play sounds that are foreign to like the native language of the host, the mother and the father, they show a strong response to that, but they show a very light or no response to sounds of the native language, even if it hasn't really been exposed to much language. But that suggests that it may be growing accustomed to this during, while it's in the
this is a
womb.
major copium. I can't believe you guys just lost to Vegan Gains. He destroyed you.
I mean, once I had to look at the pictures, I knew it was over. Okay, you can't survive.
Oh my God.
You can't survive the picture debate. So
that's embarrassing. I can't believe you want to kill newborn babies. I fucking knew it.
True.
Leave it to Vegan to. What was his OnlyFans, by the way? Just asking for.
I think it was www.hugedickformelina.com. Is his yeah.
I'm super jealous. Well,
are you sick, Kyla?
Supreme. You guys, no.
Sick in the head, maybe.
Nope. Sick of my friends who can't even fucking debate Vegan Gains.
True.
Vegan?
Uyghur gains? So we're what?
Why'd you have an Indian accent for a second?
I think you're too white
Ooh.
to say that, Lycan.
Ooh.
I'm not white. I'm Italian. You guys have seen True Romance.
All right, you're white where it counts when you're Italian.
Jesus.
Okay,
Okay, Erudite, what'd you come in here for? What do you want?
That's it. I just wanted to tell you that you lost to Vegan Gains.
Oh, thanks. Okay. Loser.
But you are making a presumption about like a 20-week-old fetus's capabilities, that it could like exit the womb and learn language. I don't know how true that is, and
Yeah,
I don't know.
It could be that there are actual stages of development that prior to some like milestone, it actually doesn't resemble some kind of human conscious experience. That's possible. But I figure you probably err on the side of caution, right? And not kill people.
Yeah, I guess like, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there are babies, sorry, not people, that before 1-year-old have like started to learn alphabet and language and shit like that. But it's like what, 1 in a million kind of deal, right? So I mean, you're kind of talking to a very small percentage at that point.
Yeah, but that's a 1-year-old compared to 20 weeks.
Ooh.
Oh, I mean, yeah, true. Maybe they can't learn it that quickly. I'm just saying under 1-year-old being able to do it, not just a 1-year-old.
I guess so I've heard you give your pro-choice talking points before, and it seems to rest largely on this conscious experience thing, and that like a 16 or 20-week-old fetus is like capable of having a conscious experience that like an 8-week-old fetus isn't, or something like that. I think there's a lot of merit to the idea that that an 8-week-old fetus will grow to be a 20-week-old fetus. And I've heard you say before that then we get into weird territory where we have to think about protecting every ovary and sperm and stuff. I guess I'm curious about that, or are you interested in talking about that at all, or giving me like more fleshed out thoughts before I start, poking into that?
Yeah, I mean, like the potential for a thing is not the thing itself. Something might grow into a thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean it gets all the rights and protections of the thing it'll grow into. There's a difference between the potential to become a thing and the thing itself, I would say.
Not all the rights and protections, but a fair amount of consideration, I think.
Consideration? For sure. If somebody, like, destroyed all the parts of a building I had before I put it together, I'd be upset because I was deprived of a building. Much the same that if, somebody punched me in the stomach when my fetus was only 8 weeks old, or hit me in the stomach so that I couldn't conceive next week, if that was possible, I'd feel deprived of a baby, but I wouldn't say that a baby was killed.
Yeah, well, that's just, yeah.
You'd be fine with holocausting, said he. And he was telling me there's your brain. Okay, yeah, it wouldn't change better example or actually give me a solid definition. And
we'll go, tell me what Dictionary.com says and we'll go with that one, okay?
Yeah, sure. So semantics is the study of meaning and language. It can be applied to entire text or, yeah, so it is.
I don't think I'm ever talking about cognitive.
Requires cognitive reasoning.
Okay, cognitive are two different things.
Destiny, you lost the stupid, like, there's a reason why I told you to show the image on screen, and you tried to avoid doing that, and you knew it would make you look bad.
Firstly,
if you avoided
I didn't
doing
avoid.
It.
Some schmuck rolls up to the gas station wanting to buy some booze or something. He sees a guy pointing a shotgun at what he thought was the clerk, because the guy was behind the counter. He pulls out his 9 and shoots the clerk in the head. Well, that guy's in jail right now for the rest of his life because he didn't know the situation. He's not properly trained like a law enforcement officer should be.
You can also look at other examples like where people fuck shit up because they don't actually know what they're supposed to do in a situation. They actually put more people in danger by like trying to Rambo their way through some sort of like really fucking heinous interaction, you know?
I think Wordy's idea is dog shit for a variety of reasons, but I think you guys are giving like the worst possible version of it. I don't know how you like to be addressed, Wordy, but I don't think Wordy is saying that like it needs to be like. Okay, I don't think Wordy's saying there needs to be like random fucking mobs of people running around murdering people. It sounds like if we construct like an idealized version of Wordy's system, there might be some like small like neighborhood democratic bodies that have people on standby that are designated to deal. Like maybe you have like a nurse that lives on a block or a mental health professional that has worked in like a psych ward or something that has that type of training. And these would be the people that you would have in charge to deal with these types of situations. And then those would be the people responsible for it. Not like a random like, oh, like Joe down the street said it's his turn, so he's going to go and try to resolve the violent conflict between the 15 people down the block or whatever. Like it sounds like that's probably a more accurate version of what Woody wants, rather than roaming bands of wild western mobs trying to clean up the streets.
Yeah, the issue like with wild western mobs and such is like because it leads to an inherent like lack of like central like legalization basically. But what happens is we already have like community patrols that very much engage in like we have I can like
in more affluent neighborhoods.
Yeah, we have like already neighborhood patrols that already.
And they break up domestic violence disputes.
Yeah, they break up domestic violence disputes.
No. Banana cops, okay, deal with like low-level noise complaints and like parking tickets. The banana cops.
I'm not buying that they storm in somebody's house.
Oh,
and
sorry.
Hey, stop beating your wife.
Sorry, like the community security drove around like yellow cars, so like me and my friends used to call them the banana cops.
Okay. So I think the most important part of. Oh God, thank you, Stephen. Okay, so this is where I'm going to side against Wordy, right? So I'm actually in favor of centralized systems because I think they are more easily democratically controlled and they have easier to have oversight on. When everything is the big problem in America and the United States, it's even delegated by the Constitution, which I think we need a constitutional amendment for, is it's literally illegal to federalize the police because it's up to the states. It's the states delegated power to the states to handle policing, which I think is fucking awful, and it goes all the way down to like the county level or whatever. It's all like everyone does different things. Every state has different training. Every state has different funding. It's just like a mess.
It's because nobody's voting.
I think the decentralized like organization like the police, which needs to be incredibly responsive to local needs, like federally for 350 million people, would be a disastrous idea.
Like federally. Federally.
Did you just say federally?
Doesn't mean that like there's like federally standardized and federally regulated. Doesn't mean that there's like the national.
Did you say nationalized, please?
Like every single thing. No, I said federalized. Nationalized. They're already like owned by the state. They're already nationalized. But I also believe in like what Wordy's talking about when I talk about like 93% of police calls are nonviolent, right? Police's jobs, like police officers, are too broad. They are not specialized enough. So what I would want, the reason I want it to be more centralized and not to just be like community volunteers, is because like
I want people who are doing these things, who are delegating, who have special rights to like, you know, go into people's houses, arrest people, do these certain things, should be extremely specialized. So you would have like the mental health unit, you would have the violent crime unit, right, which would be the cops, right?
I mean, here's the thing: a lot of police departments already have
No,
units like
They
that.
don't.
So here's the specialized thing.
There is no single police department in the entire United States that has like tiny little fucking like units. They're experimenting with some. Like Denver and New Orleans have like a 911 alternative for like mental health emergencies, but that's it. The cops still are delegated pretty much all duties. They do traffic stops, they do violent disputes, they do murders, they do literally everything. Anything that has to do with law and order, a cop does it. And a cop is trained in the United States for like 5 fucking months. And they're like, okay, go do all this stuff.
When it's things like violence, right? The cop is enforcing what the state is telling the cop to enforce, but at the end of the day, the reason for that needing to be enforced is because they're thinking about the person on the other end of that violence.
Yeah, okay, so there's a fundamental issue here is because cops, as like, not only in America, but like history shows that institutionalized forces of control, like police, have fundamentally don't enforce the laws, they enforce the consequences of being, like, actively being a citizen. So, like, for example, so, like, what happens is, like, cops here are only here to enforce the law to the extent that it is agreed upon for the state to enforce those laws. It's not the people who get to choose those laws, it's the state. We exist in a democracy, and to some extent we can like have an enforcement of all, but
that we have, but we kind of have a culture where people don't trust the police, and so a lot of that is warranted because police don't have a good attitudes and interactions with the general public. But I just don't think that disarming the police or defunding the police without addressing, because if you defund the police and they don't have enough money to train people, like then that's not a good situation. Or if you defund the police and they skip back on body cams, that's not good.
That's defund. Yeah, that's not what we mean by defund.
I do have one point, but it's really controversial, so I don't know if I necessarily want to say it.
We want you to say it.
I do think that, I do think that we need to educate the populace on behaviors that are more advantageous for the individual when dealing with the police. Like resisting arrest
This is the same thing we were talking
always a
about
bad
when I
idea.
So no, but
I'm sorry to bring it back up.
We can no, that's fine.
I'm sorry to bring it back up.
That's fine. Fine, go ahead.
But while it is true that even if the police is like the worst person, resisting arrest or being defiant, that's more likely to get yourself killed. Like I don't think like you can sort that out after you've gotten to the what is it? Well, live streaming, like yes, getting video evidence is always a good idea. I just don't think that trying to challenge the police in the moment when they have a gun is literally like what we tell people who are getting mugged. Don't like just give them the wallet. Like you want to comply and then challenge the oppression or the wrongness or the violence that they're acting. You don't want to do that in the moment when they have a gun and you don't. That's my opinion.
Okay, all right. So I said I was going to interact with Clarice afterwards because I didn't get to finish what I was trying to do with them. But this kind of dovetails into that. Okay, I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect to compare the police to criminals, right? That's a good train of thought there. Follow that, all right? Because you're saying if they're the worst person, what does the worst person mean, right? What level of abuse are you actually being subjected to at that very moment? So the problem is, like, first of all, you're not wrong in that people should understand the best ways to deal with the police, right? It's something I said previously, right? That we should be teaching our kids, like, here are the best ways to deal with the police. Don't mouth off. It's probably not a good idea, right? They'll probably put you in a terrible situation, but that's not the solution, right? That's not the solution, like, whatsoever. That's only addressing a symptom of a larger cause. The cause being the police using horrific violence against the populace, right? Just because they feel like it? Just because, whatever, right? Just because
I don't think literally anybody believes that. Is there anyone on this panel? Wait, what was the name of the guy that brought that up? I don't think anybody here believes that, like, just acting calm around the cops fixes literally anything. It's just like, you should.
No,
because it's better for and optimize your own outcomes.
Pretty much
right?
everyone knows that.
Yeah.
We're not saying be dumb around the police.
Yeah.
We're just saying there are certain instances where you can be aggressive against police and instances where you shouldn't be aggressive.
What are instances when you can be aggressive towards
when
police?
when you're in like large
When
protests.
they're gonna fucking shoot you for
Wait, what? That was no. Wait,
that is so white. I'm sorry. That's
What
such a white
is-
thing.
I think
If you attack police in large protests,
part of the
that
problem
just
here, hold
encourages
on.
them to be
Hold
more
on,
violent.
stop.
Like, do you
Stop.
understand?
Attacking. I'm saying resisting.
So hold
There's
on.
a difference between resisting and attacking.
There is exactly this, but this is important. This part is important. What he's trying to say is important. It's like, what exactly do you mean by aggressive? Because aggressive is doing a lot here, right? Is aggressive punching a police officer back because he punched you, right? Is that what you mean? Or is it that you simply said no to them? You simply didn't give them proper. You didn't put officer at the end of all your sentences, because that can be read as there was the case where someone was charged for bleeding on a cop, right? It was as aggressive behavior, as attacking the police, right? So my point is that the real problem is actually the police, the judicial system, and in this culture of behavior that says that I can commit violence against them, right, against the populace, and that it is okay, that my decision to put my hands on someone is always backed up by the state. And we see that continuously. When we actually do take these people to court for their actions, they're getting off again and again. So that's the real issue here, not what you were talking about. No, it's not an incorrect point. We should be teaching kids how to approach the police, but that's only the symptom, not the one of the root causes of this. And then I wanted to explain things with Claris, right? So you talked about like how the ACAB, right? All cops are bastards. How you felt like that was the sentiment here, and maybe no one actually said it before, but I'll say it now because all cops are fucking bastards.
Yeah, I'll say that.
So it's not that.
Okay, real quick, can we just let me point that out to Red Charlotte, that there are multiple people on here saying all cops are bastards. Okay,
I'll say it.
But she's
They
not responsible for
brutalized
that.
my grandma in front of me. Like, yeah, they're bastards.
Yeah, she's not responsible for her opinions. If she thought that there was
I know she's not, but she said before, like there was nobody on, like it was inconceivable that anybody would have the sentiment on that panel.
40 minutes ago. Like,
oh, so it was so long ago, so it doesn't matter, right?
As in, like, it was before anyone had said it.
Wait, who is? Hold on,
She
your
said
name is.
nobody had,
Wait,
like,
hold on, wait.
police
I just want to.
until I said it.
Clearest. Is it clearest?
Yeah.
Clearest.
People that are ACAB will never ever fucking admit they are ACAB. They are the most spineless fucks in the world, and they'll only do it on
Stop.
No.
Fine. I will mute you. Holy shit! Everyone, shut up. Shut up. I will mute you. When I say shut up, everyone shuts the fuck up. I don't care who you are. Shut up. Thank you. One at a time, and I will direct you. Fuck. All right. Red Charlotte. You can go.
Yeah. Okay, Steven. I love you, buddy, but like you weren't here, so like I'm not ACAB. Like I'm unironically not ACAB. Maybe like emotionally, but not like ideologically. So like Clearest earlier had like said something like 40 fucking minutes ago where like he said like you guys are all like ACAB, and all I said was that nobody in this conversation has said ACAB, so I don't know why you brought that up. And then apparently Wordy was like, oh, I believe that. So like, and then Prime just said that, and he's like, look at all these people who believe it, when like temporally, like chronologically, like when I had said that, it's when nobody had yet said that. That's
Actually,
why he's
somebody
like saying
did
that.
say
He's like,
it
look,
before
Hands
then.
up!
Did.
How many people here are ACAB? Hands up for ACABs. Be proud. Show your
No,
ACAB
right here.
flag.
Right here.
Your ACAB colors.
My name is Price Northington. I am ACAB.
Okay, we got four proud ACABers right here at least. Okay.
Yeah. We just admitted where you.
There was somebody prior at Charlotte who said that.
Everyone in chat can hold together. I'm not a coward. I'm not ACAB. I'm ACAB maybe emotionally because it feels good to say fuck cops, right? But like ideologically, I don't think like all cops are bastards or whatever.
ACAB and killer cops deserve the death penalty.
I'm ACAB. There is currently 18 fucking cop gangs.
I just want to say I love it.
Lefties
Lefties will all come out and talk about how rehabilitative justice is so important or whatever, and then when a cop goes to jail, it's like rape that motherfucker till he dies.
So that's really dishonest once again from Destiny. Nice work. Great. Hold on.
This is why I said, man, fuck Destiny.
I wanted to, because I didn't actually. Hold on. So I wanted to.
I think we might be able to have a bit more fun now.
Shut up. Hold on. Don't worry. Shut up. Thanks. Great. Because I didn't actually get to finish my point. So yeah, I see your hand starters. The why am I ACAB, right? Why do I think all cops are bastards? I didn't originally think that, but my thinking has changed, right? This last year certainly has changed my opinion on that. So when people say that, it's not, well, excuse me, let me not speak for all people. Let me just speak for myself, right? So other people might have different opinions on this. But when I say that, when I say all cops are bastards, right? I don't literally mean that every single cop is like a bad guy, right? Is out to get me or my loved ones, right? In fact,
why say it?
Oh, well, then let me fucking tell you. I'm literally in the middle of telling you. I'm literally right now in the middle of telling you. Holy shit. Anyway.
There's nothing you can say following that that's going to justify that. Like, imagine if I were to say, ABAP, all blacks are bastards. Okay. And I'm like, whoa. I don't mean all
that's right.
Please shut up. That's right.
That's right.
That's such a stupid fucking thing. Why would you
all sentiments are equal, right? All sentiments are equal. If the sentence is similar, then...
If I'd actually said that, that would be bad. But, you know, man, there's must be a lot of tinnitus on this panel tonight.
If the sentence is structurally similar, right, then that means, yes, they're all comparatively equal. You know, that makes sense. Good work. This is the philosophy king here. Great. Anyway, moving on.
You can move on if you want. It's a stupid fucking slogan. When your slogan is all cops are bastards, but when I explain that, I don't actually mean all cops are bastards. It sounds like a really shitty fucking slogan.
I believe they all washing it.
Destiny, give me
it's an operation insane washing.
Everyone,
you know what?
everyone.
I can even when I call it scab, it even sounds cooler. Scab. Some cops are bastards. Look at that. It's like such a better saying.
No, this is great.
Because some people actually believe in.
Shut up. Shut up. I will mute you the next time you talk when I'm talking. Thank you. Great. I love it. Now, back at it. So, let me explain why I say all cops are bastards, and it's a proper description. So, bastards can mean lots of fucking things, right? And so, some cops are, out to get you. Some cops are fucking racist. Some cops love to use their power against the people who are under them, right? Against the civilians. We've seen that. Some of them have rage issues and will beat the living shit out of you, right? And those are one type of bastard. Another type of bastard is the cop that's standing next to them. The cop that watches all of this happen, doesn't put their hand on you, right? Would never maybe do it themselves, but they'll watch it. They'll watch what's going to happen. We've seen this again and again with the videos that have been released. Police committing extreme violence, right? Surrounded by other police who are just standing there. The crowd is begging them, do something, stop this. You got to stop this. And they don't. Why? Why? Because this is standard operating procedure. Why would I step in? No, this is what we do. We brutalize civilians, right? Well, not me. No, I wouldn't do that. But like, yeah, he's just handling business. So no, fuck those cops. Fuck the police unions that protect them. Fuck the justice system in general that allows all this to happen. And fucking fuck our larger political system that simply seems to not care when people, the undesirables of society, are being consistently subjected to this level of violence. That's why all cops are bastards, because they're participating in this system. Because we don't see cops dismantling. When we do see cops, there are a few whistleblowers. When they do see cops whistleblowing, what happens? All the good cops, right? All the good cops step out and they make them suffer, right? They harass them, they may attack them, and they won't back them up, because that's the thing that'll happen. When they call for backup, the whistleblowers get none, right? Until they leave the police force. So yes, again, all cops are fucking bastards. That's what I mean. All right. You can respond. Clearest.
I just want to know. I have one question. How can you say something so controversial yet so brave at the same time?
Steven. Okay, so you can say that you think the slogan.
Red, stop. I want Clearest to respond because I said a lot of stuff to him. So Red, please. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Clearest, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think your statement really speaks for itself. I think there is definitely an issue where cops will cover for each other. I think that also speaks loudly to the responsibility that they have to the public, and basically how difficult that job is, and basically they have a responsibility to each other as well. So you definitely have this feeling of mutual need where they have to back each other up, even in the most egregious of situations. I think that is
like when you
probably
have your knee on the neck and so when they're dying. Yeah. So we'll back them up
I think that is a product of the way that the police departments have been set up, and I think that should be reformed. I do agree with that.
Sorry. I don't think it's necessarily because of the way that the police departments are structurally set up. I think that's part of it. I think part of it is the police unions, but I think part of it is just the nature of the job.
Yeah. So okay. So hold on. So I'm responding. I'm responding to Prime. So again, the things that we talked about, the things specifically that the guy was just talking about, as Zacharath, whatever, was talking about as far as any qualified immunity, and some other things. I think those are solutions to the problem. But ultimately, I think it takes the community to come around and agree with your position in order for those reformations to happen. And with a slogan like ACAB, it does nothing for your position. It makes you guys look like a bunch of crazy people who hate the cops no matter what, and you just want to be able to run around and break into cars and
I mean, have you seen
so Black Lives so Black Lives Matter. That's just a divisive slogan, right? Like, why not have something?
The difference
something
is
better,
that Black
like
Lives
all
Matter
lives
doesn't.
matter. Like,
Black
no, I
Lives
believe
Matter.
in all
Black
lives
Lives Matter
Like,
doesn't pull
just Black
divisively, though.
lives. Like, no. What about white people? What about white?
Oh, I forgot. This was the internet where we ignore what every person actually thinks.
Why don't we have white people? Why don't hold on, Destiny? Hold on, Destiny. Hold on. I will definitely get to you. Hold on, Destiny. We will definitely have words. But why don't we have a slogan that makes everyone feel comfortable? No, we don't actually have to have everyone feel comfortable when we're making a protest slogan. That's not the point. It's to make everyone fucking feel comfortable. No, it's actually to get the sentiment across, right? To rally the troops, right? So there are different parts of activism. Some of them is reaching out. People who don't understand the people who don't understand your message, right? Who don't really get the movement, right? And you have to make efforts to bring them in, right? But not every single message that comes from a movement has to be with the singular goal of bringing in fucking Jim Bob from Kansas, right? Because Jim Bob, on the other hand, right? The people who don't.
That's the only person you need to bring in.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
You don't need to convince the people that are the only people that ACAB appeals to are fucking radical lefties that are already in favor of police reformation.
Nope. Didn't say that. Hold on. Once again, Destiny's putting words in my mouth. He loves to do that. Holy crap, shit. All right. No, that's not what I meant. Right. So no. First of all, once again, we can reach out to others. Like I just said, like reaching out is very important, but not every fucking message needs to be for that point. And here's something else that's really important: is that not everyone that you even do reach out that does hear a message will actually do anything fucking about it. Right. So we can understand this. We can understand that there's levels of participation within the protest. So you can be generally for something, right? Like, oh yeah, I guess that's okay, right? You can be out there on the streets. You can be writing letters to your fucking senators. You can be doing. There's a whole spectrum, right? And so some slogans are just to rally the fucking troops. ACAB rallies the fucking troops because all cops are fucking bastards, and we gotta let them know that. So like,
you know who ACAB? You know what? That's the only thing you said that I agree with, Prime. ACAB rallies the troops. The troops that it rallies are the Republicans that hate your shitty fucking slogans and then show up to vote against them.
And okay, when the fuck those Republicans going to be?
All I did is have stupid fucking sayings like ACAB and jerking off fucking socialism are arguably one of the big things that cost us a lot when it came to congressional seats in the past election. It's one of the biggest things that a lot of Democrats are talking about. Yeah, you can sit there and shake your head all you want. But even among, hey, here's a fucking fun fact. Even among
Republicans
where's the data for that? Where's the data for that? Destiny, hold on. One at a time. Destiny, where's the data for what you're referring to, please?
What data do you want?
Oh, so you said about losing seats. Hold on, stop. About losing seats.
But white people talk at once, please.
About losing seats.
Okay, what data do you want?
The data that backs up the points you just made, like
which one? The one that ACAB doesn't pull popularly? The one that every single person was running for Harvard?
It caused us to lose seats. Caused us to lose seats. You know,
they're polling unpopularly and losing seats is entirely
No. You said you said that was the case, right? Hold on, shut up. Oh fuck, shut up. Hold on. When I'm talking, you don't have to talk. No one else needs to be talking when I'm talking. Thank you. Holy fuck. I don't know how hard this is. Like seriously, shut the fuck up. Thank you. Destiny, you said that we lost seats because of ACAB and socialism, right? So can you show data that we lost seats because of ACAB? I'd love to see it. I'd actually love to see it. I'd actually
Sure. If you're bored, I don't know what his published pieces are, but David Shore is a political scientist that does a lot of analysis for democratic issues.
Okay.
He has like a 45-minute conversation with Noah Smith on one of his podcasts where he talks about like a lot of the political trends of the country. And then you can also find a lot of democratic people that were running for office that complained. There was that call that leaked where they were expressing how irritated they were, that they were getting calls from their constituents about how uncomfortable they were with things like ACAB and with things like socialism being pushed so much in the broader kind of like democratic sphere of the party, where a lot of people are uncomfortable with it. A lot of brown people from South America do not have favorable views of socialism, regardless of what the very white, very suburban people on Twitter tell you. And a lot of black people in the United States and a lot of Hispanic people in the United States have favorable views of the police. Believe it or not, the police as an institution still polls as one of the most popular institutions in the United States, despite the fact that trouble exists with it. So when you run out there screaming things like abolish the police or like socialism is awesome, whatever, these types of political messages are, one, unnecessary because we don't need to say ACAB to advocate for police reform, and two, they're unnecessarily divisive. They pit one Democrat against another Democrat for no fucking reason when we have a unified enemy to fight against, and three, they galvanize the opposition because Republicans hear you screaming things like we need to abolish the police, and then four, they depress local turnout because now your party feels like they're not necessarily on board with you, so the voters get turned off from your messaging. Slogans like ACAB or whatever are dog shit slogans. All they're good for is circle jerking with your friends on fucking Twitter and galvanizing the opposition party. That's all they do.
Okay, so I'm never worried about like the opposition party and what the opposition party will do, right? Like they will always stand against everything that I stand for, right? So like it's like not wrong. That's not a thing, right? So like.
Are you not worried about the fact that
also
the Hispanic vote is going further and further and further and further?
Destiny, confidence in police among Black Americans is at 30%, and among whites it's at 60. That's actually not.
I don't know what you're citing, and I honestly, God, I wouldn't trust anything that you're citing.
From the New York Times.
That's great. What were you saying?
So, holy shit. Holy shit. Everyone shut the fuck up. You can all wait. Everyone can wait. Thanks. You can ask your question.
If you want to rally the troops, you
I
can
wanna
rally
know
them all over America, not just in LA.
You can, sorry.
Yes, but I do my
You can ask me that question again, Sansol, because I wasn't able to answer. I didn't hear you.
Okay, so basically, like you said that this is like the ACAB thing is to rally the troops, right? And it's not necessarily to get everyone to like come onto your side. You're trying to get your troops out. But if your rallying cry actively makes the opposition hate you more and more likely to go out and vote against you, whereas they wouldn't necessarily do that otherwise, doesn't that actively work against what you want?
Black Lives Matter have... Red Charlie, I see your hand, but I'm not going to yet, so wait. Sorry. Should Black Lives Matter, I'm going to respond to your question. Should Black Lives Matter not been named Black Lives Matter? Because everything that Destiny said about ACAB, almost everything he said about ACAB, counted for Black Lives Matter. Should they not have said that statement? Should have named it something else?
Okay, but Black Lives Matter polls better. Hold on. Black Lives Matter polls better than ACAB because more people are like
no, but that doesn't matter. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because it fulfills everything, right? Republicans hated it, right? And it rallied their troops, right? Like it galvanized them, right? But they're galvanized against any fucking.
Did they hate it because of the phrase, or did they hate it because of the movement?
No. Well, yes. Well, first of all, they hate the cops movement. They hate the Black Lives Matter movement. They hate all of that. But part of the rhetoric around it was the fact that it was called Black Lives Matter. And why can't it be All Lives Matter, right? And then they came up with Blue Lives Matter and White Lives Matter. Yeah, so it's both, right? It's both of those.
Right, and then they saw the police beat the shit out of everyone in the George Floyd protest at the beginning of the summer, and people were like, "Oh, actually, okay, I kind of get it now. I'm willing to listen now," right? But then people kept on fucking like hammering home like all cops are bastards, abolish the police. And then people start being like, "Oh, well, maybe they are. Maybe it is going a little bit too far."
So the GOP was on our side. So you're thinking the Republican Party, like once George Floyd was murdered, right? And we saw those images flying around the internet. The GOP was on our side. They were marching with Black Lives Matter, right? So we had the Republican Party.
There was something like unified 80% support for, or something close to that, at the beginning of the fucking summer, right? Because people were seeing these, like the fucking video of the cops running over people in New York. People saw, they're like, damn, maybe these people have a fucking point.
Great.
The cops are doing fucking horrible shit, right?
And this is perfect. This is perfect, Sansa. This is perfect. I love this because, right? So you have these people. This is exactly what I was fucking talking about. So you have these people who like will tell a poster, yeah, I guess I'm for Black Lives Matter, definitely, right? And then the thing that turns them against them, right? The thing that turns them against them are people chanting all cops are bastards. Those are the people who are going to march. That level of commitment, right? Like after seeing the horrific amount of violence, right, directed at protesters, the horrific violence, and the message was not abolish the police, was defund the police. That was the message. But after seeing that horrific amount of violence, they're like, well, you know what?
Are you an anarchist?
No, I'm not a fucking anarchist.
Okay, so you're saying that there is a point at which you see like state violence. Hold on, there's a point at which you see state violence, and you're like, okay, well maybe we don't have to go that far in like getting rid of institutions, right? There's a level at which you would say, okay, that's too far.
Yeah.
So there's too far for other people, and getting rid of police is that limit for them, right?
Again, the statement, the overriding narrative was defund the police, right? So there are some people, yes, who said abolish the police, but that's another thing. That's completely another matter, right? And it's not something I have to defend.
But no one. But
okay, but then you're bringing it up. I know, and
I agree with you on like
bringing up abolish the police, and
probably.
defund the police isn't abolish the police. So I don't know.
Right, but that's the problem with defund the police is that you ask two people about what defund the police means, and you'll get three different answers.
Ask two people
right?
what Black Lives Matter means, and you'll get different answers. Like what? Yeah, the public may not be educated on exactly. The public isn't educated. Ask someone. Ask them who the fucking vice president is.
A movement
you can
see because of a
see the
situation, and then the other is like a policy.
See the polls throughout the years. When you ask the public who the fucking vice president is, and they don't fucking know that. So the fact that the public doesn't completely fucking understand nuanced political slogans and narratives is not a surprise to me, right? Like that happens all the time. People are checked out.
Why
They
wouldn't
listen.
you market towards that?
Hold on, sorry. They just listen to headlines, right? No, because here's the thing. Once again, those people, right? You're saying that at some point there was a high watermark for BLM, right? Once those images were flying across, right, the internet, right? So people were looking at this, they saw the extreme violence, and then after that, the narrative you're giving to me, so this is what I'm getting, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? But the narrative you're giving to me is that they heard a slogan, and they're like, no, never mind, I'm not going to support the fight for Black Lives.
It's not that radical, though. Can I explain the difference?
The difference is that... Let's not solve. Like, is that your narrative?
No, like it's more like there's like they can agree with the overall like reason why people are upset, but then the policy prescription that they're getting out of it is like defund the police. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean like make sure like completely take away all of their funding? Does that mean this? Does that mean that? And that makes them be like, well, these people are going too fucking far with it. Obviously, there's a problem, but like what they're proposing is
during the civil rights movement of the '60s, like white people were easily convinced that what MLK wanted, right, is for blacks to take over the country, right? Like that was a narrative, right? But you asked, was it MLK's fault? Was it MLK's fault that random motherfuckers don't understand his political movement? Was it his fault? Should he have rethought, like, to make the rethought all of his tactics because of random motherfuckers?
He had a more unified.
Did he?
Like,
did he?
To be fair, I believe that's why MLK dropped.
The movement was fractured. The movement was fractured.
Light when it comes to having injustices committed against them, right? They haven't been seen as much, right? Whereas like when it comes to all ACAB, a lot of people have had decent to neutral interactions with police, and ACAB generally puts a lot of the blame on the cops and not the actual system that put them where they are, right? So that was just like my input.
Yeah, so I think that's wrong.
The slogan itself, right?
Because like first of all, like Black Lives Black Lives Matter is a pretty old movie. Then like
well, initially it didn't hit well.
No, yeah,
right?
Because exactly that. That's you beat me to it.
Yeah, no, but initially, ACAB didn't hit well, and it won't hit well.
So, but no, that's
because people have people actually have like decent to neutral interactions with cops. Like people rely on cops for a lot of things.
And a lot of people. The point of yes, a lot of people have those good interactions, right? Yeah, sure, right? But they also have great interactions with the white patriarchy, with the power system in general. Yes. So why should they sign with Black Lives Matter to begin with, right? Like,
people don't visualize the white patriarchy as something that's real, right? Like we know it is, but like.
But the point is, hold on. The point is that like with Black Lives Matter, with ACAB. Fuck, threw me off. What was I about to say? Fuck. Fuck me. The point is that I completely forgot it. Fucking forgot it. All right, whatever. Moving on.
Can I just like take some of my blonde hair for a moment?
Am I the only one who thinks ACAB isn't that controversial?
So,
like, I don't think it's that controversial to say all cops are bastards. Like, if I worked for an organization that one of the byproducts of was racially motivated attacks, and then I said working for that organization makes me a bastard, like, that's not that controversial. Like,
so, but it is. It is. Maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe in your opinion it shouldn't be. But Pew Research disagrees with you. I forgot. I wanted to add one quick thing. I'm super sorry for filibustering. One thing the difference is that Black Lives Matter is not a policy prescription. It's not saying reparations now, right? ACAB and defund the, or sorry, not ACAB, but defund the police and abolish the police. Those are policy prescriptions, right? That's saying this is what we want to do. I think that if Black Lives Matter tried to say reparations now, probably would have hit a lot fucking different, because that's a complicated policy prescription, right?
I think that's a good point. I think that's a very good point.
Link to Pew Research.
I'll give you that.
I think on top of that,
yes,
like,
I linked 2 articles, and in those articles linked to research. I think it might be Pew, it might be somebody else. Sorry.
Destiny, it's your turn.
Okay, I think the important thing to keep in mind is that, like, if somebody presents to you the idea or the concept of Black Lives Matter, you kind of have to be a huge asshole to like be against this. Now, some people might chime in with like all white or white